This podcast is for voice teachers and coaches to answer the question, how do I grow my teaching business and even break out of that one-on-one lesson model so that I can reach and teach who I want whenever I want? I'm your host, Allie Tyler, voice teacher of over a decade and marketing and business coach for fellow voice teachers. Welcome to the Voicepreneur podcast. Hello, lovely voice teacher. Welcome back to another episode. And holy guacamole, I am so glad that you clicked on this episode. This one's going to be so freaking good. Okay. I am so excited to share this because, well, first and foremost, I shared on Instagram stories over at the Voicepreneur which episodes I was working on behind the scenes, and I asked y'all which one you wanted to hear next, and this was the number one episode voted by a landslide. I actually laughed out loud because I was like, really? This one? Okay. I'm always a little surprised with these responses, and what I do is I will make a poll and I will show you the next 4 episodes that are recorded and ready to go. And then what I do is whatever order in which you had voted to hear whatever episode you wanted next is the order in which I'm going to put out these episodes. Meaning, there's going to be one that's like clearly a winner, and then there's going to be the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and that's how these are going to roll out. So here we are. We are going to roll out this episode because it was the most voted. Y'all want to talk about how to attract your ideal students with badass policies. Meaning, you are going to create policies that literally support your ideal life and simultaneously are going to be attracting your ideal students. We are truly making your life so much better in all of the ways. I'm so excited about it. Now, I'm going to warn you, this episode is a little different, actually a lot different than any other episode I've ever put out on the Voicepreneur podcast, because I actually recorded this while I was on a walk and the idea was hitting me and I just wanted to talk about it on my voice memos app. So I don't know if you've ever done this, but for me, anytime that I go for a walk or I'm driving, I always get so many ideas, so many thought-provoking thoughts, just so many like aha moments and things I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to share about this. Of course, I'm walking or driving or, not in front of my computer. And I have recently really loved cultivating the practice of capturing the idea as it hits. So while I was walking, I was thinking about this concept that we're going to be talking about in this episode. And I thought, rather than writing this on a notes app and then going home later and then trying to transcribe it here on the podcast, I'm literally just going to talk in my voice memos app as if I am recording a podcast episode. So I knew, or I had hoped, that this would turn into a podcast episode. So as I'm recording it, I'm really thinking about that as I'm kind of, going through my thought process here, but it's in real time. There's no script. I'm literally thinking out loud and recording it as I go. And you're definitely going to hear there's some cars and you're going to hear me walking, and it's definitely not very well, quote unquote, produced, but that is okay, right? We are all about quality of the content, not quality of the production. That is a huge mantra that I live by. And this episode is going to demonstrate exactly that. The other thing that I wanted to share, and this is really interesting because I didn't think about this until I listened back to the voice memo and I was putting together this intro for you, is that somebody recently asked me over on Instagram how I and the Voicepreneur compare to other voice teacher cohorts or marketing businesses that teach music teachers how to build their own business. Like, why is the Voicepreneur different? How am I different than all these other marketing businesses? And when I say all these other, there's like not that many, but they are out there, right? I've got some competition. We all got competition. That's totally fine. This episode will tell you how I'm different, and it will tell you how we're different, because it's not just me. This is a movement. I truly believe that living the Voicepreneur way is a movement that you either participate in or you don't. And here's the thing, y'all. I do not believe in cookie cutter ways to attract students and to create policies and to run a voice teaching business. I am not about that. And in this episode, you are going to learn how to create policies that serve the hell out of you while simultaneously attracting your ideal students. This is about being a creative, innovative teacher who doesn't do things like every other voice teacher out there. That is not us. And let me tell you, I'm gonna go to church for a hot second here, because there are so many limiting beliefs and stories and shoulds in the world of voice teaching, like how to market yourself and how to do your scheduling, how often to teach lessons, how much to charge, how to teach, how to create policies. And I'm sorry, all of those things, literally all of those things and so much more, that shit is so 2019. Actually, more like 2009. Like literally, we are not doing the things that everybody tells us to do. And I can guarantee you that other marketing businesses that teach music teachers how to build their teaching business and voice teachers how to build their voice teaching business are playing into these same stories and these same shoulds, because all of our voice teachers did this. We have examples that have been happening over and over and over for generations right in front of us, that of course we're going to take those examples and we're going to just teach that way. But not here, my friend. Not in the Voicepreneur world. In the Voicepreneur world, we are spicing up the way that we teach, and we're spicing up the way that we run a business, because we are doing this in a way that feels good for you. It supports your ideal life, and it simultaneously helps the hell out of your students. We are about teaching students that light you up while also marketing yourself with half the amount of work. Simplicity is the name of the game, my friend. Simplicity, creativity, innovation, alignment. And in this episode, I guarantee that you're going to walk away feeling a bit mind blown by how differently and amazingly you can literally create a business that supports you and helps your students think and act differently. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. I'm so freaking excited for you. I'm so excited for you to listen to this, and I truly cannot wait to hear what lands for you. So whatever takeaway you have, you can take a screenshot of this over on your Instagram stories and tag me at the Voicepreneur. Let me know one of the big takeaways that you had from this episode, or shoot me a DM over on Instagram. I love chatting with you there. And I'm so freaking excited, y'all. I'm so freaking excited. Okay, I'm going to let you listen to it, and I can't wait to hear how you create policies that attract your ideal students and make your life so much better. So I'm thinking about how, there's a combination of things that are happening. It's a very holistic thing to be attracting your ideal students, teaching your ideal students, and also having a makeup lesson policy that works for both people. So for example, if you have to cancel a lesson and, let's say you need a mental health day, or you just are not feeling good that day and you genuinely are like, I don't think I can do this today. I really just need a break, right? Which is burnout is a really big problem for voice teachers. We're all feeling it, especially this time of year. And so this happens and you're like, fuck, I have no room in my schedule to put them to have a makeup lesson, and they're going to want a makeup lesson because I'm the one who's canceling. What if instead you just created an entirely new structure that works for you and your system and when I say system, I mean your internal system, not just your business system, like your actual nervous system, right? Your system inside of you, it works for you. So if you have, for example, a makeup policy that says, you know what, sometimes I'm going to need to cancel, and that's just kind of how it has to go. And if that ever happens, it's very rare. I'm very sorry. There are plenty of other options that we can have to make up for that time. So here are the options. Number 1, you could do video feedback. Number 2, you could watch a training inside of my course. Number 3, we could have an email back and forth lesson, right? So you get to decide how you want to set that boundary. It's fucking freeing as hell. So for example, I did this recently, and it happens, right? Personal discernment. If I need to take a day for myself because I'm not feeling good or whatever, I'm going to take the fucking day. I'm going to do it because I have set up a system that allows for my system to do such a thing. So I say to the student, hey, I'm really sorry I got to cancel today. Here are your 3 options for a lesson. Which one would you like to do? Now, if you don't have students in your studio right now who would respect these type of offers, they are not your ideal students. period. And so what you can do is you can start thinking about how you can set yourself up in the future, being like, okay, I need to set the ground rules from the get-go. If a new student comes into my studio and I tell them, hey, this is maybe a little bit different than what you may be used to with other voice teachers, but this is how I do makeup policies, and this is benefiting all of us. It is what's best for me, and it's absolutely going to give you so much value. So you're also teaching them kind of subconsciously, which is an important thing to teach our students, that there is tremendous value outside of the one-on-one atmosphere. They can watch a program, they can watch a video, they can have a video feedback. You could give them a masterclass recording. You could put them inside of a masterclass. You can put them inside of there's so many different ways that people get value out of voice lessons, right? It's not just in a one-on-one lesson, and we have to teach our students how to do that. And so the way that we do that is in that first lesson. And we say, hey, you know what? This is a little bit different than how, you may be used to other voice teachers doing makeup policies, but I'm going to tell you this is how I do it. And I'm so excited for you to try this out. And if they are not down, they are not your ideal student, and you don't have to teach them. And I'll tell you, when I started making those boundaries for myself, being like, what if I just said no to the people that don't respect this new way of doing things? What if I just did that for myself? And I was like, well, fuck, if you don't respect it, then I don't really want you in my studio. Instead of, let me just bend over backwards for you because you're going to pay me. That underlying energy underneath that is scarcity. And when you have a scarcity energy like that, you are only attracting in more scarcity. You are only attracting in more of those less ideal students. So the reality is you get to choose. You get to decide how you do a makeup policy. You get to decide the different offers and the different packages and the different containers and your different policies and boundaries. You are the fucking boss. And what you do is you tell your students that. You make it very abundantly clear that this is how you operate. And there's no questions asked. So I'll tell you, when I did this, it was so game-changing for me because there were no questions asked. I started getting these students who were like, oh, okay, sounds good. Made it so easy for me. All you need is one to say that to you, to be like, oh, wait, okay, if that one person is totally good with this, and there are other people out there who will be too. I'm not freaking crazy for making this policy. We need to sometimes find evidence for ourselves, especially when we are doing something really different. We're changing our policy structure. We're changing, our prices, our container. If we're doing things differently, it's so great to celebrate. It's so great to celebrate those little moments where you're like, yes, it's working. Okay, I got one. Evidence, this can work, right? There are other people out there who will respect this. I remember so vividly the very first person who did this for me. And oh my gosh, she has such a special place in my heart. I just moved to Colorado and I was going back into okay, I need to get students. I'm all about building your own private studio. I was actually teaching other musicians, it's very loud out here. I was teaching other musicians and voice teachers and music teachers exactly this, how to build your own private studio. I hadn't really gotten super deep into the ideal client work yet at that time, but it was starting to become more and more clear that oh, this is probably a really important thing. Maybe I should hone in on this myself, right? So when I moved to Colorado, that became one of my pursuits. All right, I'm going to build a voice teaching studio, but I'm also going to fill it with people that I genuinely want to teach. It was a beautiful, fresh start for me coming out here and coming off of a van life trip where we had lived in our van for, I think it was 9 months together. And it was just so transformative for me because I really got crystal clear about what my values were and, how I wanted to build my life, and having that clean slate, moving to a new place. It was so cool. So I had this new idea of, what if I just built my studio filled with ideal students? Let's try it out. I do need the money, but I also really want to do this. And so what happened was I started attracting all the different types of people, right? You get like all of the different types of clients coming in, and you get to make decisions. Every client that comes in is an invitation for you to say yes or no. It is not yes, period. It's an invitation to choose, right? And so I started choosing, and I was getting people that, I was like, okay, they seem pretty cool. But I also was getting people where I was like, I'm really not sure. And then there's this one woman, and she was the first person to ever talk about singing as a healing modality, how much it was really impacting her nervous system. She was a wellness coach, and she was just really, really into the work that we were doing on such a deep spiritual level. And I was like, wow, this is cool. I really hadn't had a lot of students like that. Most of my students were younger, and they were auditioning for things, and Orange County life is extremely big and competitive and not quite as, earthy as into the wellness part, as other places. Now, obviously, Colorado is definitely more on that progressive side, and so that's kind of natural to where I live. But simultaneously, not only is she giving me such great content and ideas for how to be a better teacher and having these wonderful lessons with her, she respected the fuck out of my policies because she was a wellness coach herself. And because she knew exactly how it meant and how it felt to be having to set boundaries and raise your prices and do all those things. She was doing it too. So she celebrated with me when I created policies. And even if they affected her, she was like, she would always send me a text being like, I just want you to know that I'm so proud of you for doing that. That's so great. Good job, Allie. Talk about ideal client status. She completely changed the game for me in terms of the standard I set for the people that I was attracting in. I was like, what if I started attracting people who were like really into the fact that I was creating boundaries? That is game changing. And she changed everything for me. And from then on, I felt like, okay, I can create policies that actually match my ideal life. I don't want to do fuck up makeup lessons. I don't have time for that. And especially the guilt of taking a mental health day, of taking a day off, because there's no room in my schedule to book that student. That is old voice teaching thinking. We don't have to do that anymore, even though everybody has told us that that is what we're supposed to do. But says who? There are so many other ways that we can do makeup lessons. There are so many ways that we can create policies and boundaries that support us. We all have our own shit. We all have our own shit. And it's so freeing when you own your shit. And you say, you know what? This is the way that I take care of myself. And I'm not going to bend over backwards anymore. And I'm not going to feel guilty for taking time off. I'm going to create a business and a system that supports my system and my life. Period. Oh my goodness, that was so juicy, and I'm so glad you're still here listening. You are amazing, and I can't wait to see what you take away from this episode and what you bring into your teaching business. Oof, it is going to be so good. If you want to come and see for yourself what it means to grow and scale your teaching business, come and check out the resources inside of the show notes or visit us over at thevoicepreneur.com. If you enjoyed this episode, take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at The Voicepreneur. Or if that's not your vibe, that's totally fine. Share it with your 2 best voice teacher friends so that we can continue spreading the good word that you can create a sustainable, spacious, and fun as fudge cake teaching business that makes an enormous impact on your students' lives and your life and your bank account. It's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see how your business changes your life. I'll catch you in the next episode.